So we're going to go on and get started because we got a lot to do. So we'll start off. I just want to say good morning to everyone. We're going to start with our opening prayer as we always do. I see my good friend Melvin Brazil on.
Mhm.
Melvin, could you open us up in prayer, please?
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Lord, we acknowledge your presence today, and we are thankful for you for another time, another month has gone by. Father, we ask that you guide us and watch over us as we move forward during this terrible time. And we ask, Father, for your help. We know, Father, that we are blessed with you, and we know that we can come to you with hope and anticipation that you will help us move forward. So guide us with your heart, our hearts and our mind today as we continue to move forward in anticipation. In your son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that, Brother Brazil. Appreciate that. So, to get started, as you all know, in this type of format, it's important that we mute our devices unless we're talking. Other than that, we can, hear everything in the background. So, for those of you who are new to the Power Breakfast, the goal is to make sure that you have accurate knowledge on those things that are out in our community. And so I'm committed to making sure I'm keeping folks informed. So today we're going to talk about these 17 amendments that are out there and the propositions that are out there floating because I think you need to hear both sides of the issue so that when you make your decision, you understand the pros and the cons. And I'm going to start this morning by saying this because as I've been speaking across the country these days, I'm starting off with this. America is in trouble. That's a fact. America is in trouble. Our democracy is hanging in the balance. Regardless of what side of the aisle you on, I think all of us can agree what's happening in DC is not appropriate. And so we must get engaged. We must talk to one another, and we must make sure that come November 2026, we change the trajectory of where America is headed. So, with that, I want to start with Proposition A and B. Now, I'm not telling anyone how to vote. I want to be clear. I'm not telling anyone how to vote. I'm only giving information. Prop A and Prop B are connected to the what they call the hot tax, the hotel tourism tax. So Senator Menendez passed a piece of legislation or moved forward a piece of legislation that will allow the city, I mean the county, I'm sorry, it's a county tax, the county to collect revenue to be able to take care of the Coliseum, also the Coliseum grounds, as well as the Frost Bank Center, and any money left over, they say they will potentially commit to the Spurs. So Prop A allows the community to uh, vote on if they even want this hot tax or this hotel motel tax. And what the hot tax is that it's a percentage of the hotel revenue that is received um, from tourism, not local people, but tourism. So will your property tax be impacted? No. It's a tourism from rooms and from car rentals. So think of it like this. People who come to town to rent a room, they're paying a 0.25% extra on that room. So if you look at a room that's 200 a night, that's 50 cents. So when you add 50 cents or multiply 50 cents by millions of hotel nights, that's how we're able to collect that revenue. So just want to be clear. It's a hotel tax and also for those that rent cars. That money goes into a pool because it's a county venue tax and the county has jurisdiction over that money. Now we've all heard Who's on phone 210-838? Please mute your device. 838-4075. Mute your device, please. 210-838-4075. I'm not seeing it muted. Please mute your device. Okay.
I just did.
All right. Well, okay. So mute it again because you're on. All right, here we go. So the hotel motel tax. So Prop A says uh, they want to be able to, the county wants to fund the rodeo and its Coliseum grounds. Prop B says we want to be able to get authorization from the community to give the Spurs some money to build this new downtown arena. So here's the situation. Those that are for are saying it spurs economic development. And those that are against say, y'all promised that to us before and it didn't happen. Okay. Well, it didn't happen because people didn't stay in tune and engaged in the process. So when the Spurs leave the Frost Bank Center, we don't want a vacant building or looking for a tenant. We already have an anchor tenant, and that's through the rodeo people who wants to expand their programming. So you decide if you want to help keep that building or that area operative. Another thing people are concerned about, all the plans aren't laid out. Well, guess what? When you are planning something, all the plans aren't laid out for two reasons. You don't have all your investors at the table. That's number one. Number two, you don't know what the actual footprint is because we're also looking at the Willow Springs Golf Course, and we're also talking to folks at Coca-Cola to expand the footprint to really create some economic development in that corridor. It's up to the community to decide if that's something that you want to do. But at this morning, I want to make sure it is not a property tax. It's a tourism tax. So I want to be clear on that. So if you've got questions, put them in the chat and or we'll discuss them. Uh, I will take two or three questions now, if there's any, at this time on those two, or clarity that needs to be. Okay. I don't see any hands up. So I'm assuming everybody's clear on what this hot tax is all about. Okay. Now let's talk about these 17 propositions, okay, that came from the state. And I'm gonna give you both sides of it, the critics and the supporters. So Proposition 1 says this constitutional amendment will provide the creation of the Permanent Technical Institution Infrastructure Fund and the available Workforce Education Fund to support the capital needs of educational programs offered by the Texas State Technical College System. Think of the Texas State Technical College System similar to UT has a system. You know, you got UT Ireland, you got UTSA. Those are the systems. You got A&M system, A&M Corpus Christi, A&M wherever, okay? Those are systems. So this is a technical college system that says we don't want to come to the legislator every 2 years for our money. We want to become a line item in the state budget. Last legislative session, they got $4.4 billion, and they have to come to the legislator every 2 years for that. What this fund does, and this is Senator West's position, Senator West out of Dallas says, I support this amendment because it strengthens our state commitment to workforce development and ensures that our technical institutions have the resources needed to prepare students for the jobs of tomorrow. Okay? Some people are for this and some are against it, and the ones that are against it is saying, wait a minute, why shouldn't they come every 2 years and ask for money? Because our HBCUs and our other colleges come every 2 years. So why would we do this for the technical colleges? You decide. Do you want a permanent fund in the budget, about 4.4 billion would it be, or you're comfortable with them coming every 2 years looking for resources? So that's prop one. Proposition two. This amendment prohibits the imposition of a tax on the realized or unrealized capital gain of an individual family, estate, or trust. Right now, we don't have a tax. The state of Texas don't have a tax anyway. So some people that are against say, why would we vote on something for the future that don't exist? So Senator West says, I support this amendment because it protects individuals from potentially new forms of income taxation and helps preserve a strong investment climate in Texas. That's Senator West. He believes it's okay because he believes it prohibits from any future forms of potential income being taxed. The others say, well, we don't have taxes now on this, so why do it? And what some people are saying is we want to do it, so we never have it. You decide on what you think about that. Okay. And then the other note says that it cuts taxes for the rich and not for working families. So that's proposition two. Okay. Let's talk about proposition three. What this proposition does, it is a mandate that a denial of bail under certain circumstances to persons accused of certain. We've got someone with their device open. Please mute your devices. Please, everybody, check their device because sometimes we think it's closed and it's not. We need to. Okay, thank you. All right. So proposition three is basically saying this: if a person has been convicted of a felony, and we're talking severe crimes, we're talking about murder, we're talking about rape, we're talking about trafficking, we're talking horrendous crimes. What happens is this takes it out of the judge's discretion to be able to give that individual bail if someone accuses them, not necessarily are they convicted, but if someone accuses them of another crime, then they would automatically be denied bail. Well, I've got some concerns about that because what we're doing is we're taking the power away from the judge. So look at it like this: someone who has committed a felony, who've been convicted, did their time, now they're out. If someone accuses them of anything, then they are automatically denied bail. Senator West says, I support this amendment because it strengthens community safety and holds dangerous offenders accountable while still upholding the constitutional principle that every person is innocent until proven guilty. Senator West is an attorney. It is my belief that every situation is different, and to take the power away from the judges concerns me because the judge would have real time knowledge of that case. Hey, Donna Millhouse, could you mute your device? I'm hearing noise in the background. Maybe somebody knows something I don't know. Okay. All right. Francis, mute your device. Francis, someone named Francis, please mute your device. Thank you. Okay. All right. So that's three. Again, Senator West says it's a good thing. I'm skeptical of it because people can weaponize relationships by being mad at somebody. Okay. Proposition 4. Proposition 4, it says this amendment is to dedicate a portion of the revenue derived from the state sales tax and use tax to the Texas Water Fund and to provide for the allocation and use of that revenue. So, what this does is that the governor is going to develop a commission. And once we hit in the state of Texas $46.5 billion, they're going to every session for the next 20 years put $1 billion aside for future water needs in Texas. Well, we know we're growing. We know we're growing, okay? And the question is, do we want to address the water needs that way? So, what Senator West says is, I support this amendment because it strengthens our long-term investment in Texas water infrastructure and helps secure reliable resources for for future generations. The opponents are concerned that the governor is setting up a commission that he would only be giving money to his buddies and and that they're making all the decisions. So that's what the governor or those that are against this saying. So what you have to decide is, are you prepared to invest in future water situations? Okay. And most people are saying yes because they know Texas is growing and we don't want to run out of water. Okay. Let's talk about Proposition 5. Proposition 5 basically establishes um, a constitutional amendment authorizing the legislators to exempt from Avalon taxation taxable ta- taxable tangible personal property consisting of animal feed held by the owner of the property for the sale of retail. So this one is focused on our farmers. Think of a feed store, okay? In a feed store, that's one of the goods that feed stores sell is, or a farming store that have farming goods sell feed. This exempts them from sales tax on that feed. So one has to ask themselves, okay, the ones that say no, tax breaks for feed sellers won't help working families. They help corporations more than us. Those are the people who are against it. Okay. Then we look at Senator West. He said, I support this amendment because it provides meaningful tax relief to agricultural businesses and supports the farmers and ranchers who drive our state's economy. I also believe it would help keep the cost of meat and dairy products affordable for Texans. That's the Senator West's position on Proposition 5. Okay? Let's go to Proposition 6. Proposition 6 basically it prohibits the legislature from enacting a law. Pardon me, y'all. Sorry, I didn't mute my device. So I just did. So Proposition 6, it prohibits the legislatures from enacting a law imposing an occupation tax on certain entities that enter into transactions conveying securities or imposing a tax on certain security transactions. Here's the situation. The state of Texas will have a stock exchange. So that is coming. You think of the New York Stock Exchange, the state of Texas is going to have a stock exchange. So they're saying they want to prohibit taxes from those people who have occupations in the tax industry. Okay. Those that are opposed says exempting security transactions from taxes equal benefits to the wealthy, not everyday Texans. So if you are an investor in stock exchange, well, that naturally you potentially may be for it. So here's what um, Senator West says. I am against this amendment because it limits the state's ability to collect fair revenue from large financial institutions. This represents a significant potential source of funding that could greatly benefit the state of Texas and its residents. Additionally, banning prohibits revenue streams before they exist, means that the bulk of the local revenue will need to continue coming from property taxes, which burdens working class individuals. So that is Proposition 6. Senator West says no. The people who says it's for the wealthy, you decide. Okay. Proposition 7. Proposition 7, it authorizes the legislator to provide for an exemption from ad valorem taxes of all or part of the market value of the resident homestead of the surviving spouse of a veteran who died as a result of a condition or disease that is presumed under federal law to have been service connected. So think about this. Our veterans now get a level of tax, property tax exemptions based on their level of disability. What this piece of legislation does is then says if the service member passes away, that benefit goes to their spouse. Whereas as it stands today, if that service member passes away and the spouse then puts that property in their name, they then would be subject to property tax. This stops that from happening. Okay. So the there is no opposition that I've seen. It says support veteran families, let surviving spouses keep part of their home tax free, and uh, and we know that sometimes people are on fixed incomes, and this would be a great relief for them. Okay. Senator West says, I support this amendment because it honors the sacrifice of our veterans and provides meaningful relief to their surviving spouses. Okay. Now, my hope is as we're going through this, you're deciding what you're going to do and mark up what I call your cheat sheet. Because when you go in the polls to vote, you can see with 17 amendments, this is the most amendments that has ever been put through at any one time, which means it's going to take a long time for your voting. So going in, which is allowable with your cheat sheet, will help you not hold up lines and or being there too long. Just want to be clear. We've gone through 1 through 7. Does anybody at this moment have any burning question or clarification that they need? If you do, you raise your hand and or jump in if I don't see it, because I don't see any hands at this point. Any question of clarity that needs to be. Amari, look for any hands. Okay. There being none, we're going to go to Proposition 8. Okay. What Proposition 8 is, and I want to be clear as we're going through this, when we vote on constitutional amendment, we're voting it into law. What we're saying is this becomes the law of the land in Texas. And
Yeah.
so, why do we do constitutional amendment? Well, at the state level, you have to at least have 100 votes to be able to move something forward. When you put it out to the people, if the people vote it down, it cannot be law. And it's harder for any future legislature to take it out once it becomes law. That's why uh, our folks say we want it to be embedded in the law. Okay. Now, Proposition 8. What Proposition 8 does, it prohibits the legislator from imposing a death taxes applicable to a decedent's property or the transfer of estate, inheritance, legacy, succession, or gift. Now, we don't have that tax now. I just want to be clear. Please put your device on mute. Someone has a Samsung. Put your device on mute. We can hear you. Okay. Proposition 8 is basically prohibiting the legislators from ever, um, unless it's overturned, from imposing a death tax if you leave your loved one something. Okay. So the people who are against it says no estate taxes, the rich wins. Estate taxes protect wealthy families, not working families. Okay. That's what they feel. Now, Senator West says, I support this amendment because it protects Texas families from future estate or inheritance taxes and ensures that wealth can be passed down without additional financial burden. I want to be clear. This tax does not currently exist. This is being put into law just in case in the future. So, say for instance, now you already get a federal exemption up to 13 million, but this would prohibit Texas from ever putting into law an inheritance tax. So I want to be clear on that. Okay. Now, Proposition 9. Proposition 9 authorizes the legislator to exempt from ad valorem taxation a portion of the market value of tangible personal property a person owned that is held or used for the production of income. Okay, so that's Proposition 9. So it uplifts workers and small businesses who use their own tools, equipment, or other property to earn income to keep more of what they earn, whether you're a mechanic, landscaper, hairstylist, or small shop owner. So it helps small businesses that pays about 2,500 up to 125,000 in taxes. So what it does, per Senator West, I support this amendment because it is, oh, this is the ward one. I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. Proposition 9. Uh, it supports because it provides the relief for small businesses and helps strengthen local economies by allowing entrepreneurs to reinvest to growth and job creation. Okay? So I want to be clear. It's about personal property that you have in your business. It keeps the state of Texas from coming in taxing that personal property. Okay? Proposition 10. Proposition 10 is an amendment to authorize the legislator to provide for a temporary exemption from ad valorem taxation of the appraised value of an improved resident to a resident homestead that is completely destroyed by a fire or other catastrophe. Just like in Houston, think about it when they had the floods. Those people who had to move out their house and go somewhere else still had to pay property tax. The fires that happened in certain part of Texas, those people still had to pay property tax even though they were no longer living in those houses. So what this does is I'll call it temporary pause, okay, on your property taxes because you're not using that property. And that, so even I have seen no one against it. It says fire destroys home. We know catastrophes happen. Why should an individual who's struggling, who have lost their home, have to pay taxes on the lost home and or a new place that they get? Okay. So Proposition 11. Proposition 11 authorizes the legislator to increase the amount of the exemption from ad valorem taxation by a school district of the market value of the resident homestead of a person who is elderly or disabled. I think some of y'all have heard the concerns. I don't have children in school, but I'm paying all this school tax money. And so, people are concerned about that. So, Proposition 11, the people who says yes, say let the elderly or disabled keep more of their home value tax free. That's dignity and fairness. Okay. Senator West says, I support this amendment because it provides much needed tax relief to seniors and disabled Texans, helping them remain in their homes and maintain financial stability. Now, here I want to share an opposite view. Again, as you are making your decision, here's the opposite view. Well, if people aren't paying into school tax, that may reduce the revenue that goes to schools. So I talked to a school board member who's saying they're not for this because it's going to reduce the revenue to schools. Well, guess what? As a legislator, it's our job to fund schools. So I believe, because we have the money, whereas the local property tax are lower, the state needs to make up that money. Um, and so I'm saying this, what Barbara is saying, the state needs to make up that money. But you decide if indeed we want to give a higher level of exemption to the elderly and disabled from paying school tax. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Moving on. I see, Frank, you had a question in the chat. Let me see if I can get to it. Well, Frank says there's a lot of information. Is there a place he can get this? And you can. Okay. Um, what the situation is the Women League of Voters. If you go online on their website, they have a list of all these propositions, and you can look at that. But they explain it. They don't necessarily take a position on it. And what I'm sharing this morning is what I'm hearing as the pros and the cons. Okay, so now let's talk about. But go to the League of Women Voters website, and you can pull down uh, the list of all these propositions. I would suggest if you're missing anything today, you do that so you could go into that ballot box knowing where you're headed. Let's talk about Proposition 12. This constitutional amendment is in regards to the membership of the State Commission on Judicial Conduct, the membership of the tribunal to review the commission's recommendations, and the authority of the commission, the tribunal and the Texas Supreme Court to more effectively sanction judges and justice for judicial misconduct. Okay? Those that are against it say it's a power grab. It's a power grab because it's giving more power to sanction judges to silence them. But it risks political abuse and unfair targeting. Okay? So what it is the governor wants to set up a commission of some non-other judges to be able to sanction judges. My concern about this is the fact that we know what's happening in DC of neutering, I'll call it, these judges. So this could be another potential in terms of limiting judges and or putting judges in harm's way because now the governor would control this commission and would have a lot more power. Senator West says, I oppose this amendment because it weakens judicial independence and allows greater political influence over the oversight of Texas judges. Most of my colleagues were against this amendment because of that very issue. When you start putting in a tribunal that is controlled by the governor, then who's controlling the courts? Just want to lay that at y'all's feet. Okay. Proposition 13. This constitutional amendment would increase the amount of exemption of resident homestead from ad valorem taxation from 100,000 to 140,000. Okay. So again, benefiting uh, all people, not just the elderly. So, but here's the situation. I want to be clear. Increasing exemptions also decreases local revenue. Want to be clear. It decreases local revenue. But you have to ask yourself, and we know based on the appraised values, many of these housing values have gone out the roof. There's two sides to the equation on your taxes. Is the value and the rate. And I know our local municipalities always brag about they don't, what is it? They don't raise the rates, right? But guess what? If they raise the value, the impact is the same. So just want to throw that at y'all. Okay. Proposition 13. All right. We're moving pretty good here. Proposition of 13. Well, I just did that one. We're moving to 14. This would provide for the establishment of the Dementia Prevention and Research Institute of Texas, establishing the Dementia Prevention and Research Fund to provide money for research on and prevention and treatment of dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson, and related disorders in this state, and transferring to that fund 3 billion from the state general revenue. Well, again, I haven't found anybody much against it. What it does is putting $3 billion for dementia research into the state budget. Okay, so um, people who are for it, and I'm gonna give you Senator West, and then I'm gonna do clarity questions for anybody that have one. Okay. So Senator West says he supports this amendment because it invests in critical medical research for Texas families affected by these devastating diseases. And also remember this, at the federal level, they've gutted research funding. So the state of Texas is saying this topic here we want to invest in. Anybody have any questions for clarity on this? Please ask your question. Someone put in the chat they had a question. I'm waiting.
Representative Hawkins, how
Yes.
is that money going to be given to startup venture firms? And then how do we ensure that if whatever comes out of that fund in terms of research actually gets to the people in the communities that need it?
Well, I think that it's not going to be divvied out to any of, I'll say, local providers. It's going to go to our research institutions, okay, like UT, UT Health Science Center. Those type of research institutions will get that money. Is that clear? I
Yes,
saw.
ma'am.
Okay. And so I think also, Kevin, so it's a good question too, is that remember when these pieces of legislations are put forth, that's part of the law. Now, when we get into rulemaking, which is how it's implemented, then that's important. Well, I'll make sure of, if you stay in touch with my office, is that when they're sitting at the rulemaking table, you will know about it so that you can have valuable input via email and or testimony. So I want to be clear to the folks on this call. All of these things are happening, but you still have a voice. Once they're put into law, the next step is I'll call implementation slash rulemaking. Who gets money, how it flows, how it operates, who have the decision making. We have to stay engaged and have that seat at the table. As your legislators, we can create a seat at the table. The thing is, you just gotta come and sit at the table and be a part of those critical conversations. Okay? Any other question or clarity on any of the things that we've just went over?
I had raised my hand. I'm Grace Uzumba.
Go ahead.
There was a question in the chat whether you can skip any of the propositions, voting on any of the amendments that you do not understand. I suggested in response to ask the questions now so as to gain clarity and create yourself a cheat sheet now, so that even if you just take a piece of paper and a number in 1 through 7 and write yes, no, yes, no. So,
Thank you for that. But again, do you have to vote on everything? No. If you don't want to weigh in and you're not sure, you can not vote on it. You can vote on those things you want to vote on. And that's in any election period and anything that comes up. You can vote on those things you want to and those that you don't. Our goal this morning is to clarify some of your questions so that you can be active and vote on these things. But anything you're not sure of and you're not clear and you don't want to, you don't have to. Okay? So that's a fact. All right, we're moving on to Proposition 15. Okay. And what Proposition 15 does is it is a constitutional amendment affirming that parents are the primary decision makers for their children. Okay. So the primary decision maker for your families. The people that says no says this amendment isn't about empowering families. It's about giving politicians new ways to mess with our schools, ban books, push culture wars, and strip away protections for all kids. That's the against. Now, Senator West says, okay, I'm going to read what he says here on 15. I support this amendment because it reinforces the vital role of parents in guiding their children's lives and ensures those rights are clearly protected under the Texas Constitution. So I want to be clear on what this says, y'all. What this is saying is they're strengthening parent rights. So it also says no court can overturn a parent's right. It focuses on, no doubt, banning of books, things that happen in school, and it's really targeted as to our transgender community. So a kid can't get procedures if they want it and the parents don't. It also impacts vaccines. The courts have no role to play basically in this. So as a parent, you have to ask yourself, do I want to be 100% control of my child, what they read, if they want a certain medical procedure, any of that? And let's define a child, 17 and under. 17 and under. So, and I also want to put this in context. All of these amendments were put forth by my Republican colleagues because they wouldn't let us get anything passed. I want to put it in context. Remember, things that don't even exist, they're saying we want to weigh in on it. They're also saying we want more court control. They're also saying we want more parent control. Again, I'm not telling anybody how to vote. I want to put it in context in terms of our committee discussions and what's been happening on the floor of the House. So you decide, because some of these pieces of legislation have underlying beliefs and underlying philosophies. So I want y'all to be clear on that. Okay? Proposition 16. Or anybody need any clarity on 15 about parental rights? It's really targeted at the courts.
right.
No court can overturn. I see a hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, Senator, Representative, I just wanted to kind of weigh in on that. Just is because when you take away and limit the court's power, you also, in this case, will limit the opportunity for appeal because it can't be brought to court. So if something happens and you wanted to continue to pursue this, you won't be able to because it would as be considered, I mean, because it'd be constitutional, it'll be the law. That limits the court's decision making power and ability, and for parents to be heard and people to be heard in the court of law. So that's my comment on that one.
Okay. Well, guess what? When I grew up, the parent got the whip belt and whipped that butt and made things happen. So we'll see on that. You decide. Okay. Let's go over Proposition 16. This proposition says that a voter must be a United States citizen. That law already exists at the federal level. Only U.S. citizens can vote, right? Texas is saying they want to codify it in Texas law. So let's say someone votes by mistake in Texas. I went through the process. I think I'm a citizen. Nobody told me I'm not, and I vote. What happens to that individual? You now have broken the law. Okay? So I'm concerned about this because now what we've done is we're saying that someone makes a mistake, they broke the law, they are getting ready to go to jail. Here's what Senator West says. I oppose this amendment because it is unnecessary. Texas law already prohibits non-citizens from voting, and it risks being used to promote division rather than address an existing problem. Okay? So that's a concern that Senator West has expressed, and other people have said uh, no. Clarifying that voters must be U.S. citizens sounds nice, but the truth is that's already the law. This doesn't change anything. But what my Republican colleagues have saying is that it's not clear in the law, so we want to codify it. So we want to make sure there's no gray areas. So I don't know if y'all know about the case with the young lady who was on probation or parole or something. She voted, and she voted provisional ballot. They went after her. She got a 5-year sentence. We were able to get her out, but again, it's scary and it's an intimidation tactic, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Final, Proposition 17, and then we're going to be open for any questions anyone may have or clarity. Proposition 17.
To also use the online recognizer, please accept the license agreement.
Sharon Perry, could you please mute your device? Sharon Perry. Thank you. Proposition 17 authorizes the legislator to provide for an exemption from ad valorem taxation of the amount of the market value of real property located in a county that borders the United Mexican States that arises from the installation or construction on the property of border security infrastructure and related improvements. People Against It says tax breaks for border security property benefits the big landowners, not working Texans. Okay. Senator West says this. Uh, I oppose this amendment because it diverts potential tax revenue from local communities and prioritizes funding for border wall projects over other pressing state needs like education, healthcare, and infrastructure. For what this bill does, what it's saying is that anybody on the border who allows a border wall to be erected now will have their property taxes reduced. It's trying to incentivize people on the border to allow the wall to be built. That's basically what this does. Okay. We've gone through all the amendments. We've touched on Prop A and B. We've gone through all 17. If there's any questions, please raise your hand and or just jump in and ask your question for clarity. An informed voter is a good voter. An informed voter will go in there and either support or not support those laws that impacts our community. Think about it. We're putting this in the Texas Constitution, and these become the law of the land here in Texas. Any questions? Any?
Good
Go ahead.
good morning, Representative Hawkins. My name is Stephanie Bradville, and I really just wanted to say I appreciate you having this forum for people to really understand what these laws are. Because oftentimes we just yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, without really understanding the impact of it. And right now, in these times, we need to be informed. We really do. And the question that I have, and this is just overall in general, I've never seen this amount of, as you stated, amendments or any type of laws just changing like this. Are there any fiscal impacts? For instance, if we go through and vote yes on all 17 or no on all 17, does it impact, like, I guess, our budget, or can it impact us anyway financially to kind of just vote or totally vote? I guess I'm just trying to, put that out there for people.
Okay, good, great question. So if you're voting on anything that puts it into the annual budget, like the number proposition um 1, if we put that 4.4 billion into the budget, well, naturally, if you're putting something in the budget, something else got to come out. Okay? If we put the dementia funding, naturally, if we put something in the budget, we're either increasing the budget or we're taking something out, right? But we all know we're heavily impacted by dementia, Alzheimer's, and those types of things. Think about it. When HIV/AIDS was big, people were dying. Okay. And then through research, we were able to help save lives. The same way with cancer, if you've had cancer before, it was an automatic death sentence. So investing in research. So as you're making your decision, you have to look at what are those priorities that are important to you. Okay. If giving the tech college a line item in the budget rather than coming in every 2 years, hey, that may be important to you. Supporting, workforce development, okay, and technical skills. Dementia may be important to you. So we're putting those things in. So each item, so there's no blanket response here because each item stands on its own merits and its own significance. Okay. I think for me as a legislator, what I want my voting citizens to do is look at each measure and make a decision based on how you feel, what will impact your life and other people around you. Okay. And so when they say it's, tax cut for the rich, that may be something you vote no on. If they're saying exemptions for the elderly, exemptions for the disabled, because if we give people exemptions, we do reduce the amount of revenue from the local municipalities, which is the city and the counties. So there's adverse effects and positives on both sides. Hopefully that answers your question.
And that absolutely does. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I see Nikki had a question. Once all the votes are in, for those that pass, when do these constitutional amendments take effect? Immediately. Immediately. Okay. But when I say immediately, they take effect, but they take effect in terms of the planning stages. For instance, let me give you an example. The tax break for the feed sellers. All right, when they do their taxes, though the feed selling dollar amount is left off. You follow me? So they get an exemption for that. Franchise tax, sales tax, that type of thing. Now, on the other side, a veteran spouse, getting the benefit. Well, that doesn't happen until that service member has passed away. You follow me? So you've got various time limits, but all of them, once they become law, vote yes, is immediate action, but many won't come into play until over time. Okay? Great questions. Any other questions or clarity?
Barbara,
Uh-huh.
good morning. This is Francine.
Morning.
Good morning. I just want to first say thank you so much for presenting this forum for us to be educated in this way. And then I also just want to comment and double down on what you said about taking in a cheat sheet to be able to help us, because these are 17 amendments. And so those of us that are even seasoned voters, just to have that sheet and mark all those that are no is easy. So you walk in with, these are my no's, and then everything else is a yes. But I also ask and advocate that we help a young person, because this is very intimidating, for some that are not young and not seasoned voters, but even for a young person. So, I'm making a quest to reach out to several young people and assist them and answer questions or just provide them with knowledge. But I just share that with all of us on the call. Help a young person to be able to vote, because there are 17 amendments and that might be a little intimidating for them. Thank you.
Good point, friend. Good point. Be it a younger person or elderly person or whatever, we want to make sure that people know what they're voting for so that they're not voting against their own interests. Anybody else?
Yeah. Representative, thank you so much again and again. I know that you have been on several town halls talking about these amendments and the propositions and presenting them in a way that is digestible. And so thank you, thank you, thank you for always informing and educating the community. Now, there are people who haven't even heard that these amendments are existing or even, been proposed, and much less understand what they are. Now, when is the vote? Is the early voting is that going on right now for these amendments? When is the final voting day for these amendments?
So early voting is now, and it runs through what's the say that again? It runs
Friday.
yes, the 31st,
First.
correct.
Mhm.
And then election day is November 4th.
And now, if I'm not registered to vote, is it too late for me to go ahead and get registered to be able to vote on these amendments?
Yes, October 6th was the deadline.
um, if I was, let's say I made that and I am registered to vote, does that carry me until the 2026 elections? Am I now registered to vote on other ballots?
Yeah, it won't be on this one. You're not registered, but you can register at any point. That's an ongoing process, and you'll just be registered for the next election that you'll be eligible for. But Grace, that's a good point in this sense. You'll be able to vote in March during the primary. So, and I would also suggest everybody check your voting status. There's some games going on at the state level. There's 45,000 applications that people want to register that has not been processed.
Mhm.
45,000 in Bexar County, 12,000 in Harris, and 13 in Tarrant County. So there's some things going on. New voting machines. The state of Texas have changed out all their voting machines. I hope they didn't put the Elon Musk factor in them, but but we got some problems. So we've got to check and make sure we're still registered to vote. Some people have been purged off.
Not only purged, but if you have moved, please make sure that you check your voting status and your voting um, um, area, district. Make sure that your voting is correct. That is correct, and that you're registered in the right place. Because if you're not, then you'll be voting for things that may not concern your particular community. But this one is statewide, correct, Representative?
Correct.
Uh,
All
and
right.
Representative, one more question from me is that let's just say that, just because of lack of knowledge, lack of understanding, lack of awareness, people, some of these propositions that may seem to be against our interest, if they're passed and become law, what's the likelihood of them later on being raised up to, let's say, get rid of them out of the Constitution?
Now we have to go through another process of voting out. It's not just easy to get rid of something from the Constitution. So the goal of embedding things in the Constitution is to make sure that it's hard as heck to get it out. Okay.
And then some of these laws that right now seem like one of the amendments that I know I have been vocal on is this question of the bail. Just mere accusation, somebody would be denied bail. Denial of bail will cause you not to be able to be to really help yourself in your own defense, because you're locked up and then your attorney has to go see you. If you don't like the state attorney, then you're going to have to try to raise money. I mean, it just shows so many things. But the one thing that really, really scares me about that is because they list these egregious crimes that people say, oh, yeah, no, we don't want that. But it's not about the crime, it is about the denial of bail.
Let me add to that, Judge, because we're at the spot. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. There are people who are languishing in jail 3 to 5 years on an accusation, not that they were and so it is concerning that when you take that power away from the judge who's looking at current situations and evidence, it is concerning. And so people are in jail now who've been accused and who some have been determined innocent. So that is a concern. So we're at our 9 o'clock hour. I want to thank everybody. I did have a question in here. It says, what are you legislators doing about the deceased members of the House of Representatives? Nathan, that's a good question. And I want to share this with you. It ain't about what we're doing, because we're doing the best we can. It's about the people. What are the people doing to be able to make sure that they're contacting their senators and their House of Representatives so they can fill these vacant positions? Think about it. Congressman Sylvester Turner's seat has been vacant almost a year. Well, that's to keep that seat from voting. The young lady out of Arizona has not been sworn in. That's to keep those 2 Democratic seats from not voting. So we're doing the best we can. It's now time for the citizens to raise up and say, Governor, why haven't you filled the Sylvester Turner seat? Okay? Why are you so late calling this special election? Mike Johnson, why haven't you sworn this woman in? So the reality is, it's obvious. It's called keep the Democratic votes down. Okay? All I can say in conclusion is this, y'all. Thank each and every one of you for being on this call. We meet the 4th Tuesday of every month at 8 a.m. The goal is to make sure you have knowledge to make good decisions. Any final announcements or events anybody may have that they want to shout out to the group?
Thank you, Representative. This is Dexter Sadler. I want to, for great information you put out today, for those who do not have the voter's guide that's published by the League of Women Voters that gives a full explanation, pros and cons about the propositions and proposals. You can go to lwvsa.org. I'll put it in the chat, and there you can get a virtual copy of the League of Women Voters Guide, League of Women Voters Voter's Guide. It also includes a sample ballot. You can now become well educated about these propositions and proposals and make your selection before you go to the polls. Go to the polls, you're ready to roll if you do this.
Sounds good. All right, here's a critical question from Joseph. If you were out of the country working with the military or in the military, but your home of record was in Bexar County, are you still registered? You are, and you should be, but check your registration. Check it. Wherever you're registered, it should not move because you're out of the country. That's why we have mail-in ballots. All righty. Again, good morning, everybody. Have a great day, and thank you so much for being here and hearing this information. Take care. Your vote is your voice. So continue to vote and stay engaged. Don't get disenchanted. This too shall pass. Thank you all. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
So welcome.
Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you. Hope you learned something, Joseph.
I did. And very informative because I'm about to go and vote real quick. I want to make sure I was good. I just got back from Japan, so I'm good.
Awesome, Joseph.
All
Okay.
right. Thank you.
Thanks, Grace. Appreciate you, ma'am.
Thank
Yes.
you, Representative. This was extremely informative.
Thank you for that. Thanks for being here, Sharon. Appreciate you.
I did want to announce my candidacy.
Go ahead. You still got a few people on.
Okay, folks, my name is Grace Uzomba. I am running for the District Court 1224th District Court Civil. On the civil side, I am a veteran and I have a commitment to this community to serve. I have served, this will be my second term, non-consecutive, because I was a misdemeanor judge before, and the criminal side. But on the civil side, I'm highly qualified because of the background that I have, not only diversified in experience and knowledge. I am a tax attorney, I'm a professional mediator, I'm also into cryptocurrency, and it would be an honor for you to help me make history as to be the first African American ever elected to the district court on the civil side. I am so proud and privileged to serve this community. And again, I repeat, I have a commitment to serve this community. So please, I will need your vote starting in February 2026. Early voting starts on the 17th and goes through the 27th. And then the primary election is on the 3rd of March. And this is going to be a primary run. Okay, so I need your vote. Then I look forward to your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye.
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 Mario, now that I got you on there, what can we do to help the food bank?
Oh, thank you, Representative. Thank you to everyone and for your service that you give to this great state, Rep. Yeah, as y'all have seen and heard, food banks across the country and in our state, we're one of 20. We're all preparing for that wave to come that need the folks that are on SNAP and WIC and public benefits, and those public benefits are going to get disrupted. And on top of that, the federal employees, there's so many here in our region, in our community. We're already seeing them come to the food bank. We're already having distributions at Lackland and elsewhere. All of our information on our strategies there is on safoodbank.org. And folks can call 210-431-8326 and get connected with our client services, our call center, to try to get resources and help. But we're here and we're gonna remain strong for the community and the folks that we serve.
All right, would you come on and I'm gonna give you front stage on the next Power Breakfast next month until you can tell people, how they can help, money, whatever, okay? And also kind of give us a state of play of what's going on.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good morning, State Representative Gervin-Hawkins. This is Gwen Bolden, and I did try to click on that link, and it was not correct for that Women League of Voters, so I put in the chat. So I don't know if y'all want to resend that out again so that people have the correct link. Thank you.
Thank you for being here this morning. Hey, Tuesday.
Hello, Rep. That was wonderful. Thank you. I was off camera because I was writing furiously. So very well done. Thank you for that explanation.
Awesome. Good to see you.
Have a